It was supposed to be a simple escape. Kaito had spent the last 8 months buried in a windowless Tokyo office by programming AI systems for a tech startup that never slept. The city's neon pulse had become suffocating, and the endless crowds were turning his thoughts static. He needed silence. Not just silence, but solitude. Somewhere untouched, somewhere raw. That's how he found himself hiking toward the edges of the Tokyo jungle, a lesser known expanse of thick forest that bordered the remote western outskirts of Okutama. Locals called it Kurokawa Yama, the Black River Mountain. It wasn't on many maps. No fancy tourist trails, no signs, no cellular reception. Just trees that whispered when the wind passed and shadows that stretched unnaturally long. Perfect. Kaito carried only what he needed: a tent, food rations, a headlamp, a lighter, a knife, and a solar powered radio. He ignored the murmurs in the village at the base of the mountain when he asked for directions. Don't go past the Moss Shrine, an old man warned him, eyes clouded and voice brittle. The forest past there listens, it remembers. Kaito smiled politely and hiked past anyway. Superstition. Every mountain had its myths, but as the sun bled into dusk and he pitched his tent in a small clearing surrounded by thick, ancient trees, Kaito felt it, the weight of the jungle pressing in. No city noise, no lights, just the hum of cicadas and the occasional snap of something moving in the brush, and then night fell. Not the kind of darkness you find in parks or under city skies, but a pitch black that swallowed the world whole. He tried to sleep. That's when the scratching started. Uneasy silence. At first, Kaito thought it was just a small animal, a raccoon, maybe a fox. But the scratching didn't move. It stayed in one place, just beyond the tent wall, directly behind his head. Slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across bark. He held his breath. Then silence. Minutes passed. Kaito's hand crept to the knife beside his sleeping bag. His heart thudded in his ears as he slowly unzipped the tent door and shone his headlamp outside. Nothing. Just trees. And yet the feeling remained, like he was being watched. He spun around, beam of light slicing through the black. Still nothing. Snap! A twig broke to his left. He swung the light in that direction. Again, nothing. But the scratching had stopped. The next morning, the forest was calm again. Light filtered through the leaves, casting golden patterns across the mossy ground. Kaito convinced himself it had just been nerves. First night alone in a dark jungle. Of course, his mind would play tricks on him. Still, curiosity itched at him. He left his gear and hiked east, deeper into the forest, guided only by a rusted compass and instinct. Within an hour, the trees grew older, thicker, the air heavier. Then he saw it. Half buried in vines and moss was an ancient stone shrine no more than 5 feet tall, carved with kanji so eroded they were unreadable. Tiny offerings still sat on the steps: rotted fruit, yellowed origami, and a doll made of twigs with no face. Kaito stepped closer. That's when he noticed the trees around the shrine. Every single one had deep claw-like gouges in their trunks, spiraling up into the canopy like someone, or something, had climbed them. He turned back quickly, but the jungle didn't sound the same anymore. No birds, no insects, just silence. Something breathing. That night, Kaito barely slept. The scratching returned, but this time it circled the tent. He lay frozen, knife in hand, light off, trying to convince himself it was the wind or maybe an animal sniffing for food. But then something breathed, long, slow, just behind the tent fabric. A breath too deep, too loud to be an animal. He didn't dare move. The breathing paused, then came a faint voice. Not a whisper, not a growl, just a soft, broken sentence. "Why did you come here?" Kaito bolted upright, heart jackhammering. "Who's there?" he shouted, unzipping the tent and bursting out with the knife drawn. Nothing. The jungle was empty, still. But the air smelled wrong, like rotting leaves and burnt hair. He didn't go back inside the tent. He sat outside, knife in hand, staring into the woods until dawn. Roots. On the third day, Kaito decided he'd had enough. He packed his gear, but before he could leave, he stumbled, literally over something strange near a tangle of tree roots. A leather-bound journal, half buried in mud and moss. Its pages were damp, the ink smudged, but some entries were still legible. The handwriting was frantic, desperate. Day 3, I hear footsteps, not animals, heavier, human-like. But there's no one out here, right? Day 5, something watches from the trees. I've seen its shape, tall, wrong, like a man made of branches. Day 6, don't speak, don't look it in the eyes. It knows your name if you do. The journal ended there. No name, no date, just a final smeared sentence at the bottom of the last page. It feeds on solitude. Kaito stared into the trees. The wind had stopped again. He was no longer sure he was alone. Thing in the trees. That night, Kaito didn't sleep. He sat in the center of the clearing, fire burning high, knife drawn. The darkness outside the firelight felt thicker now, like it was pressing against the flames. And then, just at the edge of the light, it appeared. Not quite a man, not quite a creature. Its limbs were long and bent at unnatural angles, skin the color of tree bark. Its face, if it had one, was a mass of writhing black moss. It didn't move. It just stood there, watching. Kaito couldn't move. The fire flickered. The creature tilted its head, then it spoke. Not out loud, but inside Kaito's head. A voice like cracking wood. "You are alone. I am not." The fire died suddenly, snuffed like a candle. Darkness swallowed everything. Escape into madness. Kaito ran. He didn't know which direction, just away. Branches tore at his arms and face. He didn't care. The creature didn't chase him in the normal sense. It was in his thoughts, whispering, laughing, pulling at his memories. His flashlight blinked and died. He stumbled forward blind. Then, light, a dim flicker ahead. He burst into another clearing. A campsite. Old, rotten. A skeleton still sat against a tree stump, hands clutching a broken radio. Beside it, a carved message on the tree bark: "Lives in the trees. Don't sleep. Don't stay alone." Kaito collapsed, cried, laughed, screamed. Above him, something moved in the canopy. The stars blinked out, one by one. 8. The final morning, when dawn broke, Kaito was lying at the base of the moss shrine. He didn't remember how he got there. His gear was gone. His clothes were soaked in mud and blood. None of it his. He stood on shaking legs and stumbled down the mountain. It took him hours to reach the village. He didn't speak to anyone, just walked into the nearest station and took the first train back to Tokyo. But the city felt wrong now. Too loud, too bright, too empty. Because even among the millions, Kaito still felt it. That thing, watching. At night, it visited him in dreams, whispered through walls, scratched at the door. Because once you see it, once you're seen, you're never truly alone again.